Hello everybody who's watching this video. Here I am again with another video for you guys where I do a reading of a famous person based on the Chinese face reading system. Okay? For those who don't know about face reading, I will firstly present a quick introduction on its concept, okay? Before I do the actual reading. So Chinese face reading is a branch of traditional Chinese medicine, which is a millennial system, right? And aims at reading people's personality or diagnosing imbalances on their physical, mental, or emotional health through the analysis of their facial features, taking into consideration the size, the shape, and the colors of these features. Okay? Chinese face reading, as I said previously in my first video, is something on which I have always had much interest, okay? Displaying somewhat of an intuitive approach to my readings in the beginning, since I've always had, good intuition to see through people's external being and unravel their personality. However, I got a more solid knowledge through studies and research in the course of time, okay? For this video, I chose to analyze the face of a worldwide famous person in the field of Brazilian literature. I'm talking about writer Clarice Lispector, okay? She is very well known throughout Brazil, especially by those who dedicate themselves to literature. And even those who don't like to read much know her or have at least read a famous quote by her in the past, okay? So she is very famous and well known here and worldwide. Before beginning to read her face, I'm going to present a simple introduction on her biography obtained through some researches I made, okay? So let's begin with the introduction. Clarice Lispector was born in Ukraine in 1920. However, when she was only 2 months old, her family moved to Brazil, to the city of Maceió in the state of Alagoas, running away from the Russian Civil War. Afterwards, they moved to the city of Recife and to Rio de Janeiro. She had always displayed much talent for writing and began to write her first romances in her childhood. She learned many languages throughout her life, and by the age of 21, she entered law school, graduating by 24 years of age. In this meantime, she became editor of some famous Brazilian newspapers, and in the year of her graduation, she published her first literary work named Perto do Coração Selvagem, or Near the Wild Heart, which portrayed the internalized view in the teenage world and had been embraced warmly by the critics and earned her an award. Okay. In the following years, she published more and more literary works, always catching attention for the intimate, psychological, social, philosophical, and existential aura of her works. She died in 1977 of ovarian cancer, one day before her birthday. I confess that I am not a big fan of literature, okay? And I have not read any of her books, to be sincere. Therefore, I had to research about her life and her biography her literary works and career to serve as an introduction for this video, okay? I hope it was enough as an introduction. So let's begin with the actual reading of her face, okay? The feature that catches our attention the most is her upper cheeks, okay, which are very prominent, angular, and well defined, right? They are very highlighted on her face, I would say. This trait, together with her concave lower cheeks, her naturally high eyebrows, her big and visible eyelids, pale and shiny complexion, that glance of somebody who seems to be demanding satisfactions, of whoever is talking to her, and her regal, magnificent body language, her aristocratic body language, all of these traits together place her in the type of personality symbolized by the metal element in Chinese face reading. Okay, there are 5 elements in Chinese face reading: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, which are just symbols, each one possessing specific physical traits and specific personalities and temperaments, right? All of us have a mix of 2 or 3 of these elements. However, one of them will predominate over the others. In her case, she had a predominance of the trait symbolized by the metal element, okay? Which means that she was somebody who appreciated and valued perfection and refinement, right? Metal people yearn for refinement, for beauty, and for things that are well made. Everything that she did had to be on the verge of perfection, the most refined and the most beautiful as possible. And the same thing she expected from those who did things for her, okay? These things had to be refined and well made as well, and had to have quality, because she appreciated quality, and everything she made had to have quality, needed to have quality and refinement, okay? In this regard, she was a very picky and demanding person, as are all metal people. This trait, although it might be positive, or appears to be positive, it actually brings some difficulties to the person, such as the tendency towards perfectionism, okay, which is very common in metal people. She certainly had tendencies towards perfectionism, okay, and surely had some compulsive behaviors as well, either for cleaning, for hygiene, or organizing stuff, okay? For her, everything had to be well organized and well structured, and had to be on due place, okay? Another personality trait characteristic of metal people is the inherent necessity of expressing authority, or telling people what to do and how to do, okay? And she certainly had this necessity, which in her case was expressed in a very rigid way, I would say, okay, as her upper cheeks show us. This region of the face shows how much the person needs to express authority and how well they can express it, okay? So when they're prominent and highlighted on the face, as in the case of Lispector, they show a bossy person who likes to tell others what to do and who naturally expresses authority, telling people around them what to do and talking in a demanding way, even though they might not notice it, okay? I bet people around her, family, friends, or co-workers, had some complaints about her regarding her bossiness, maybe calling her bossy or authoritarian, okay? Metal people also appreciate and aim at high and prestigious positions and high statuses in life, okay? positions on which they can display leadership or power. This is something that she certainly had, and she certainly valued the prestige and the position of respect she achieved in her life through her art, okay? Especially here in Brazil. This was something that was very important for her, okay? At the same time, and this may seem rather contradictory, she displayed the extreme opposite of this trait and showed the necessity of living her life in the simplest way possible, okay, with maximum simplicity and far from all this prestige and from material things as well, okay. This is how the metal element manifests itself, okay. It's an element that shows a duality, sometimes choosing prestige, respect, and high status, and sometimes choosing simplicity with inclinations towards asceticism as well, okay? Which I would not say it's her case here, okay? Now, analyzing other features separately, either of the metal element or of other elements, we can conclude more interesting things about her personality, okay? Beginning with her high eyebrows, which are a very prominent trait on her face. People with high eyebrows, they show hypersensibility to external sensory stimuli, okay? Either sounds, noises, smells, tastes, touches, views, everything that reaches our physical senses, okay? She was more easily affected by strong noises, loud noises, unpleasant smells and unpleasant tastes than other people, okay? Remember that she appreciated perfection and refinement, right? And everything that reached her senses had to be as beautiful, pleasant, clean, aesthetical as possible, okay? So the opposite of this would leave her kind of disturbed, okay? These high eyebrows, they also imply that she needed to keep a certain distance from unknown people, new places, new objects, unknown objects, okay, until an acquaintance with them was formed. She was not the type of person who would arrive in places hugging everyone, for example, or getting involved with people and mingling with them. She would rather keep some social distance at first, especially if she was not acquainted with them, until a familiarization was built, okay? Then she would have more, physical contact with them, even though she would still set some limits due to her hypersensibility, okay? Her eyebrows, besides being high on her face, were also inclined upwards, right? Beginning at the inner corner of her eyes, upwards, which implies that she had a decisive nature, okay? She would make decisions quickly, without pondering or thinking too much on possibilities and available options, and would afterwards act quickly, okay? Eyebrows like these, they show a very practical, decisive, and agile personality, and she was certainly like this, okay? She certainly had this trait in her personality. Continuing with analyzing her eyebrows, this time considering their thickness and strength, okay, we can see that she had considerably sparse and thin eyebrows, which implies that she, getting a little out of the metal element and going into the wood element, She was not very good at expressing anger or frustration. Okay? Before anything, her anger was not very big, and she was not capable of expressing a big or explosive anger, an impacting anger, an anger which intimidates. She would rather express a blander anger, maybe without much power of impact on her words during an argument, for example, which would maybe create kind of a conflict for her since she had that necessity of expressing authority, that I talked about. Knowing how to express anger properly is important for those in positions of authority, right? So I think that her anger would not assist her well in this regard, okay? Although she had a very serious countenance, she was actually somebody with bland and flexible temperament, and somebody who would not easily lose patience or get easily angry. Okay? Another noticeable trait on her face are her big and very visible eyelids, okay, when her eyes are open. Most people's eyelids get hidden or get just partially visible when the eyes are open, right? So when a great deal of the eyelids gets visible when the eyes are open, we have here someone who suffers easily and who has tendencies towards surrendering to suffering and pain, which is a very metal trait, okay? They try to display a stoic and steadfast behavior, though, and trying to show strength during times of pain, you know, even though they may be shattered inside. She certainly had this trait, and this tendency to suffer internally while displaying stoicism and keeping her pain for herself. This is very metal. Another interesting thing to take notice of are her concave lower cheeks, okay, which show that throughout her life she felt a feeling of emptiness, as if something was missing in her life, although maybe she didn't know exactly what was missing, or maybe she knew, right? Something was just missing there, and something had always been missing, okay? And this generated a feeling of emptiness inside her, which is a very common trait in metal people. This trait combined with her big visible eyelids shows how much of this tendency towards suffering she had, okay? Another feature that contributed even more to this trait is her absence of features of the fire element, like sparkling eyes, brilliant smile, cleft on the chin, for example. These are all fire features, okay? Fire is the element that brings enthusiasm, excitement, and joy to our personality, okay? So its absence implies that there is an absence of these emotions as well, okay, in us, in our life, in our personality, okay? So she did not have, many fire features. She had absence of fire features, actually, so she was not the type of person who would express a lot of joy and enthusiasm and laughs and, smiles in her life, okay? Which only adds to that tendency towards suffering that she had. This was my analysis of Clarice Lispector's face, okay? I did not do a full and complete analysis of her face here. It was just a brief reading, okay? If I did a full reading of her face, this video would be more than 1 hour long, okay? So it would be I would spend much more time and effort, on doing this video. Okay. There are some features that I ended up not analyzing here, of course, but I read the most important and the most noticeable traits, okay, which reflect her strong and uncommon personality the most. Okay, thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys liked it, and I will be posting more videos like these in the future, both in Portuguese, which is my first language, and in English. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and see you guys soon. Bye bye.